Good morning, everybody. I've got my Westies Wizards hat on. Julie, welcome today to Julie McIntosh. Hey, Julie.
Hello, everyone. I don't know who's out there, but it's very nice to be on your show, Mark.
No. It's great to have you here, Julie. And
got my tea cup ready to go.
Please have one of my scones.
For your Fire tea and scones.
That's right. And my special trademark shirt again today. I know it's not Flash Shirt Friday, but it's. I just wanted to wear this today because it went with the hat. It went with the Westies
I thought
Wizard.
It was a very typically Queensland coloured shirt, whereas I'm more in the drab southern states attire. It's not black, however.
This is the cold New South Wales at Richmond, isn't it? Near the Richmond Airport.
Autumn, well, it's not autumn, nearly spring. Actually, you know what? This changes and it becomes colourful on the other side.
You should have turned it around or something.
Well, I can, just to brighten things up a bit.
Now, Julie, great to have you on the show. We've known each other for a while now, but
Is that better?
So many. That is much better. It's much more colourful. We're nearly matching. We're nearly matching. Now, we've known each other for a while, but let's start by, before we do anything else, please tell me about the Classic Safari Company pre-COVID. Tell me how great a business it was and all the things you do.
So the Classic Safari Company is a business I founded back in 1992, which is quite a long time ago now. And we are a company that specializes in tourism to Africa, first and foremost. And then we have programs in India, Sri Lanka, Argentina, Chile, Peru, Ecuador, and parts of South America, not all of South America. But I guess the essence of what we do and the niche of what we do is all nature-based wilderness travel. That's our focus. So out of those destinations, we try pick out the best of what nature has to offer and get our clients into the big wilderness spaces.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's what we do. Not doing a hell of a lot of it at the moment, but that's a whole other story.
We'll start with the positive stuff and we'll digress into what's happened since COVID with your business afterwards. But you've got a very successful business. I know, Julie. It's you've got a whole team of people. How many people have you got at your peak? What did you have?
We've got 11 staff, including myself and my business partner, and they all can sell Africa, and then we've got a few specialists for the other destinations, and we've got two people in the office that do all the sales and administrative support, plus an accountant. So we're a small team, but a good team, and a lot of our staff, in fact, have been with us since the 90s, which is quite amazing.
Wow, that is phenomenal. Now, you actually have an interesting story. So you were born over in Africa, but you grew up in Queensland.
Yes.
You can claim some Queenslander state of origin here.
The first time I set foot in Australia was to move to Queensland. I was visiting, I was at boarding school in South Africa at the time, and I was at a very, very, very strict posh girls' boarding school in a town called Hilton, and we abided by the school rules so strictly that I arrived in Queensland via Sydney and even overnighting in Sydney in my school uniform.
You did take that discipline seriously, didn't you?
Yeah, which was called your number one, and it was black patent leather shoes, a sort of pencil blue skirt, blazer, and a hat. And I arrived in Queensland in that outfit in the early 80s. So no, we've been in Australia quite a long time after leaving South Africa.
How long did you live in Queensland for? How long were you up here for?
I moved down to Sydney in the 89-90 period. I left Queensland and haven't really been back, although my mother and father lived there for quite some time afterwards. And now I just go there on holidays.
Well, as you do, that's right. Or to join scenic flights around Australia with Westies Wizards.
Correct. Dying for the next invitation, but it's not coming.
Well, it's not going to happen for a while, Julie. I can't even fly down to pick you up.
I know, it's crazy.
I can't even fly to Byron Bay, down to the Richmond Air Force Base. Now, okay, so that's the Classic Safari Company, and that's something you should be very proud of. It's a fantastic business. You actually, and speaking of flying, you've been a major sponsor for the last couple of Outback Air Race trips as well. So all my friends that I've been harassing, and all my friends' friends that have been harassing their friends to buy tickets in the raffle in the Outback Air Race, it's all thanks to you, and I guess you and Herbie, but specifically to your organisation has been sponsoring the Outback Air Race and providing the trip. So that's been really something. That's been a phenomenal trip that you've put up each 3 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's been a great adventure doing that, and I've met really nice people like yourself. And no, it's a pleasure to do. And I suppose both Herbie, who assists me in sourcing the donated accommodation that we give to the race, are both keen flyers. And while Herbie's flown a lot, and then my father was in the South African Air Force, and my older brother is a chopper pilot, and my younger half brother, who's 21's training to be a pilot now. So aviation and planes are something that we're quite keen on. So when the opportunity came along, it was a bit of a no-brainer, and we sort of jumped in the deep end, did it. I initially flew with the chap Angus James on his plane, and sort of hooked up with everyone, and have done 2 races now, and it's been great fun. And then off the back of that, funny enough, we maybe coming up later, but we've just, I don't know if it's another question coming. But
it's a question coming. That's right. Yeah.
We'll get to Phil. What's that?
We'll get to Phil's safari.
Yes, no, we might wait. So out of that, other opportunities have arisen. So no, it's been a pleasure, and I think more importantly, over the 2 years, to lots of sponsorship, the raffle, whilst everyone gets sick and tired of selling the tickets, I think it's raised over $180,000 for the Royal Flying Doctors, which is pretty amazing for a donation.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, it gives all the teams who are raising money for the race, because each team obviously has got to raise funds. It gives them a mechanism to use to raise the tickets. So it's actually been quite a good formula for them to get all the team. It gives them something to do rather than them having to go and organise their own raffle or whatever it be. And then there's the incentive to sell a lot.
That's right. So Julie, remind me, and you'll know this number, how much did the Outback Air Race raise for the Royal Flying Doctor last time?
It was 96,000 the second year, and then I think about 75 the first. No,
not just from your raffle, in regard to the whole fundraising by the Outback Air Race.
It was close on half a million nearly, which is incredible from a 3-week event.
Absolutely. And
I say 3 weeks because it takes 3 weeks to do, because everyone's got to fly to start the race, and then it's a 10-day race, and then fly home wherever you are.
No, that's right. And that's half the adventure. I remember the first time we went, I think we had more fun sort of getting to the start of the race. We certainly had fun the whole way, but I mean, it was a great adventure. We went through the Flinders Ranges and the Painted Hills and all those sorts of places. And Herbie, who's coming on in a couple of weeks, he's been on all the trips. In fact, he's been on every flying trip I've had. The only way you got a seat was when Herbie couldn't make it for part of last year's trip, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'll second best.
No, he was there first. That's all. That's not second best at all. Now tell me also. This is something you don't tell many people about, Julie, but and we're focusing on all the positive stuff here, and you have so much to focus on. You've got so many achievements apart from growing up in Queensland. Is you've actually played polo for Australia, haven't you? And
I have.
And New South Wales. You're a very accomplished horsewoman. And where you live, of course, you've got all the facilities right next to you. So tell me about your polo history, please.
Being a girl, I've been interested in horses my whole life. My first horse was a fat black Shetland pony called Powwow that I used to ride around barefoot in South Africa. My dad, however, was so naughty. I think when we left South Africa, my dad sent it and my sister's grey Shetland pony to the Pretoria Zoo for food for the lions. which is a bit horrific. However, they were so naughty. I think they deserved that sometimes. Anyway, I've been interested in horses my whole life, and when I moved back I lived in Zambia for a period of time. I moved back to Sydney and came out to the Hawkesbury, which is where I now live, to watch Australia play South Africa in a polo test match, and met at that event a chap that ran the polo school out here, and had a crack and got addicted, as people do when they start hitting balls. It's like golf on horseback. Once you start hitting a polo ball, it's hard to not keep doing it. So anyway, I just took to it and applied myself and moved to live out in the Hawkesbury just because it was a nice rural precinct an hour out of Sydney, and started playing a lot, and eventually sort of got selected to play in New South Wales and also the Australian team one year. I was the oldest person on the field by nearly 25 years, mind you.
They needed your leadership and experience, surely. That's what it was.
I think it was more the back door. I wouldn't let anyone else playing back while all the younger girls were up the front scoring the goals. So no, it was great fun. Look, it was a great thing to do and fun to have done in my life.
So who did you play against in your Australian tenure? How many times have you played?
Played against New Zealand, who have a very strong girls team. It was a good competition. We lost by in sort of extra time. They had a golden goal. I did get MVP of the match, however, which was quite good. I don't know whether that was just a token gesture because they knew I was retiring potentially. But no, it was great because women in polo is the biggest growth in the sport globally. There's even women's handicaps now, and it's a lot of the professional girls that play, in the US and England travel and play a lot, and it's a big part of the sport. It's growing a lot in Australia. We've got a lot of girls. I think when I started, there were a handful, but now we can field teams and run a pretty good tournament, which we do twice a year.
Very good. Last time when we did our Westies Wizards trip last year throughout the Flinders Ranges down to the wineries of South Australia and so on, which how could we forget? You were coming back, I think, to play for New South Wales against Queensland. Did Queensland not field a team in the end or something? What happened there?
Yeah, they got scared.
You won. You got a walk through. Is that what it's called?
They got scared. They chickened out. I can't remember what happened. I think it all got a little bit complicated, and I think maybe the tournament might have had something to do with it not running properly because of the drought. I think we had a few issues there with the polo last year. The venue where it was meant to be, I think, cancelled it, and it actually didn't get run. So it wasn't because Queensland was scared.
That would never happen. That would never happen. But your daughter Olivia plays. She's into horses very much as well. And, has she started playing polo yet, or is she too young?
Yeah, she plays. She's jumping at the moment and loving that, and I'm quite enjoying watching her do it. So she's just I'm not putting any pressure on her to do that. It's it's a sort of sport you can play. Well, I started playing late, and there's no real rush.
Yeah.
So
you don't sort of wave your Australian jersey in front of her all the time, and inspire her to those great heights.
No. She's sort of naturally falling to show jumping a little bit more at the moment, which is fine.
Now, Julie, you're we've spoken often about what's happening with your business and so on during these times, and you've had sort of last year a very successful business which was creating a lot of value for the people that were dealing with you and so on, and then COVID hit. And yours is one of the industries where, and everyone's affected in different ways with what's happened in 2020, but I mean, yours is one where once they shut the borders and shut the planes down, it makes it a little hard for you to maintain business. So I guess you would have spent half the year refunding people or rebooking and all these sorts of things. So do you want to talk about what COVID has meant to your business, and yet my understanding is you've still managed to keep everybody all your employees
going.
pretty much in the
Yep.
same. Yep.
Yeah, no. I mean, firstly, it's fantastic living in a country like Australia where we have had amazing support from the government. I guess paying high tax bills is paying off now.
Yeah.
But, obviously that's helped us secure employment for our staff, albeit 2 days a week at the moment. Largely because we don't want to lose our staff. We've spent years training them and, to have the knowledge of our clients. I'm sorry, I've just got to pop up on my screen. I mean, they all there, but as far as our actual business goes, literally from March till now, we haven't taken one booking apart from an Australian booking for next year. So that's pretty grim stats. And, we definitely qualify for the more than 30% revenue drop. We're sitting more on about 95 to 99.9. So no, look, it's terrible, but obviously people are not at all comfortable booking holidays or, even in the mood to dream about holidays until things settle down. So look, we've come to terms with that. We spending the time doing a lot of re-engineering of our business and doing housekeeping projects that we never get to do because we're always busy doing other things. So in some ways it's been a little bit refreshing just to do all those things we've wanted to do. And we've just got to sit tight and hope it doesn't go on for too long, because it's just, we've got bills still to pay, like part of our rent and all those sorts of things.
Sure.
So, but then we've fortunately most of our clients have been pretty good about the whole thing, and most have postponed to 2021, 22, although we're thinking 2022 might be the start date.
More
really
realistic.
Yeah, it's just hard to know. I mean, we can't even predict what's happening. We're not really banking on people traveling out of our business till July, really, which is really when Qantas have said they'll bring their planes back online. So we're working along Qantas's timeline, because that's realistic.
Sure. They probably know more. They probably know something. But a friend of mine has a golf tour business, Julie, and I caught up with him the other evening, and he said basically they've spent the last 6 months undoing the last 2 years' work in their business, and in his business, everyone just wants a refund. And of course, as you know, not all airlines or hotels are going to give you a refund, or if they do, it might only be a partial refund. So he's been struggling with the fact that his clients are saying, well, I paid you $20,000, I want $20,000 back, whereas he might only be able to get 15 or 12 back from the airline and the rebookings he's made. So all the people like yourself in the travel industry and other industries, it's you can't see the grief. So effectively he's worked for 2 years.
And I think what a lot of people, particularly in the destinations we sell, they don't appreciate the food chain that's involved here. And one employee in a safari camp in Africa is feeding 20 people. So if everyone has nothing in the food chain, and why a lot of the companies are happy to postpone, certainly in the niche we're in, which is smaller owner operated private lodges and so forth, it's more about protecting their community as well. Plus the other big issue with what's going on is a large part of our camps and properties that we use, that the monies that you pay goes towards all the conservation. So conservation's having a massive hit as a result of no tourism. So which is quite sad, because all the amazing work that's gone on in many places is being unwound because people are going hungry. So a lot of the poaching that's happening is more bushmeat rather than your sort of ivory and rhino horn. And I mean, that's probably still going on. It's just it's all the little animals that you don't think about that are possibly getting hammered.
Yeah, and I mean, the truth is, I admire most of your clients are rebooking, which is great. And I mean, even myself, I was supposed to be going to New York for a wedding in August. Whoops, we're in August. It's supposed to be next week, I think it was. And obviously United weren't about to send me back any money, and I didn't ask for it either, because I thought, you can't. businesses can't be just refunding and refunding and refunding, because they have their costs too, and if everybody just went for a refund, just about every business in the world would fall
Every
over.
business would be out of business. So no, we're sticking to our terms and conditions pretty much, and just that's the rule of thumb we're following, just because it gives us parameters to run our business and plan for the future.
Yeah. Now, so what you've done, and we'll use this word again, pivot. That's kind of the word that everyone uses in regard to what they've done with their businesses in 2020. So Phil Hines, one of the guys that we both met, obviously as part of the Outback Air Race, and a lovely guy. Phil has started an internal Australian safari flights for you, and you're promoting those, and of course now they're going from Australia-wide flights to New South Wales flights, because
soon we'll be flying from Bankstown to Richmond Airport.
That's right, because he can't come into Queensland and land at Birdsville. So do you want to talk about those? What Phil's doing, Julie, and how you're promoting that?
Well, prior to COVID, we were actually ramping up our whole Australian program, more so because a lot of our clients want us to book similar things in Australia, because there are quite a few really nice properties, again, following that wilderness owner-operated sort of theme. And that was all happening. So we've ramped all that up a lot. But through this whole process, Phil approached me about helping him sell his trips, which he was creating, which were private charters around Australia. He obviously got affected by COVID too, because I think his first trips were due to go out end of April, May. And they were trips up to Queensland, Northern Territory, and so forth. Anyway, when we were chatting, I came up with the idea to do the classic Aussie Outback pub crawl, which was just a short, sharp trip that would take in all this amazing scenery, a lot of it which I've seen out of your plane, and drop into these quirky little towns and stay in the local pubs and do a little bit of tourism either side. So the first one we launched was trip up to Tibooburra and then Birdsville out to William Creek, Maori, Lake Eyre, over the Flinders, Broken Hill, Sydney. We launched that 2 weeks ago, and then the borders shut. So we've pivoted again, and now today we're launching the New South Wales Outback one, which is essentially Mungo Park, Broken Hill, Tibooburra, Trilby Station, which is Phil Hines' sister's property, and then finishing off in Mudgee with a nice meal at a good restaurant. And that's only, they're 4 or 5 nights. They're nothing long, and they in a Cessna caravan, and sort of 10 people, maximum 10 people with Phil and another pilot flying in. It's just a great, we're getting a lot of inquiry we're doing a 50th birthday quote, and then we've got, boys trips, bucks, it's just whatever.
Fantastic.
Whoever wants to go out on a holiday where you can go.
That's right. Don't forget Bell's Cafe at Broken Hill, Julie.
Yes, no, don't worry. That's in the pictures.
For that milkshake.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we actually got some good editorial, because the newspapers are struggling. The travel sections are so skinny because there's no cruising to market, because these broadsheet newspapers survive through real estate advertising and cruising advertising, and there's not much money being spent on all that. So we managed to get some awesome editorial about it. Well, it's just a fun concept, the Outback pub crawl by plane. Most people would say, why not, when it's only 4 or 5 days away?
Absolutely. It's it's interesting. And another byproduct of nobody traveling. I was out at the flying club this week, and this guy has just bought a new Cirrus plane, and his parents were there, and I was saying, so, what does your son do? He's obviously having a good year. And he sells jet skis, and they've gone from selling, on average 18, 19 jet skis a month. Last month he sold 90 something jet skis. So wow. People are instead of, so it's like 10 times his turnover, because people are obviously not paying to go on overseas trips or holidays out of the state. So they're buying a jet ski and staying home and roaring up and down the seaway, I guess. So it's been interesting seeing what people are doing, and yet interestingly, this last weekend, the long weekend here in Queensland, I mean, it was just a zoo here on the Gold Coast, there was just people everywhere, and you certainly wouldn't know there was a COVID was running rampant in the country, and I guess it's not in Queensland. Everyone was out and about having a great time. But Julie, you've and you know, when you talk about what Phil's trying to organise, I mean, in the trips that you've done, and you know, the ones through the Outback Air Race with Angus and so on, when you're flying with him, the trips you've done with us, you know, I've had no urge actually to go overseas in the last few years because there's so much in Australia to see, isn't there?
There is. No, there's fabulous stuff.
When you get off the beaten track, I mean, some of the places we've gone to in planes in the last 5-6 years, I mean, you just, nobody really, well, they might know about them, but it's just too bloody hard to get there. So, and in the plane, you can just jump in a plane and in a few hours you're there, you're out in the Flinders Ranges, which is just spectacular. And, you know, pulling up, I love the idea of the pub crawl and so on, because there are so many quaint little pubs you can call into. You know, when we dropped into, stayed at Stu Angus's Airbnb down in Anguston in South Australia, and I've, you know, Stu, you know well, and he's going in the next air race, I'm sure. But I mean, there's just so many great and interesting places you can travel to in Australia, and maybe it's a good pivot for you guys to put these sort of trips together, because you know, I think for us as a country to come out of this, we need to be spending money in Australia, not so much donating to overseas, and certainly not to China. So you know, we need to work out how to spend our money in Australia. But what are the other things? And I mean, we've just got a couple of minutes left, Julie, but you've kept, you know, I love the fact that you've, even though your team are only working a couple of days a week, and obviously thanks to, I assume, JobKeeper and so on, because I know you're not selling any travel at the moment. You know, tell me what you've done. So just as a, you know, from a team point of view, what have you done to keep your team positive, motivated, and on board?
Well, everyone's been delegated projects to do. We've got, as I said, we're doing a whole lot of housekeeping. So, I mean, we've got, through this process, obviously, there's a lot of work to be done to either rebook or, you know, the ones that do want to cancel or have got insurance claims, etc. So there's a, you know, certain amount of work to do just with our existing clients. But the guys are actually quite busy. And the other challenge with running the business at the moment is because everyone's not 5 days, and they're doing 2 days here, 2 days there, there's a little bit of, it's a bit stop-start. So there've been a whole lot of, you know, management challenges, just trying to, if anything, I feel like I'm sort of sitting in the helicopter a lot more, trying to delegate who's doing what and keeping up with the team that way. So it's sort of changed the cycle of the office. And then we are doing 1 day a week at the office. On Wednesdays, we try and all come to the office to meet there, which is great because we've got the most amazing office, very beautiful office. We charter, you know, the staff lunch on Wednesdays, and we all have lunch together and, you know, chat and, you know, hope for the best. but yeah, look, everyone's grateful to have JobKeeper, and I think everyone's grateful still to be in a job. So, you know, everyone's helping out, and it's just making the best of a pretty shitty situation. So, it's and, you know, where the destinations we sell are just so amazing. It's just makes us just cry thinking that, you know what's going on in those countries, because obviously they don't have the sophisticated systems we do, and, you know, just hoping that we can get everyone back traveling so that we can keep it all, the show on the road, so to speak.
No, that's right. So, Julie, thanks today for your time. Classic Safari Company is your business, so I'd recommend anyone jump on. Maybe you'd like to put a link to your website in the comments under this Facebook post, Julie, afterwards, is just where people can get in contact with you, and even if they can't book anything right now, for maybe they
future reference.
They can find out where they need to come to, because I know you have some fantastic trips that you organise, and even for those who just want to organise something from within Australia as well. So thanks, Julie. Great speaking with you. You're a great co-pilot when we go travelling together. So we'll catch up again soon. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.